All right, what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend. We're gonna jump right into this here. I got actually a larger than normal watch list for you, so let's just go ahead and jump right into this and get it going. So, first one that I'm looking at here for is gonna be 6A. Okay, as you can see here, in 6A is the Aussie dollar futures. Okay, we're seeing our run up here. Excuse me. We actually made a high and pulled back down to this 21 moving average right here, and we can see that there's a light squeeze with some momentum coming in. You can see that that's confirmed here too, so we're starting to see that momentum shift. So what I want to do is, even though we're seeing that shift, it is below the 21 moving average and consolidating. So I want to kind of play like just a strangle, but be pretty far out of the money to cover any large moves. As you can see here, I'm looking at, well past the all-time highs and then well past multiple support levels. So when we jump in over to it, it's going to be a May cycle, which is May 7th, 48 days out. Now the Aussie dollar has a little bit of a liquidity issue. You can see here that the futures actually only traded like 92,000. So it can be hard to get in this, but if you can get in it, I think it'll be a great play and it has really good probabilities. So what I'm looking at is I want to sell those 0.745 puts, and then I want to sell the 0.805 calls. This actually leans it slightly long to cover that squeeze, that momentum shift, okay, but also giving some really good credit here. Okay, you can see it's pretty much a 75 pop. We're getting about $530 in credit, and we only got to put up about $1,200. So not bad, just over 2-to-1 ratio here, okay? The next one here, guys, is Apple. Now, Apple's really, if I zoom out a little bit, you can kind of see it. Move my notes out of the way. You can see Apple really ran up, and then it consolidated, and then it ran up, and then we're having the little stock market worrisome issues here. And it's just having a real hard time getting back up to those highs. So I want to do an iron condor on this one as well. Now I want to lean it a little bit short, because if I zoom in here, okay, you can actually see here's that 21 moving average. Every time we get to it, it falls, hit it, falls, hit it, pretty much falls. So even though there's a squeeze here, I'm not fully going to trust this one to the upside yet. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in and do a weekly cycle. So also on this one, you guys, I'm going to a weekly because April is we're getting down to that 21 day mark here this week, and we're gonna be looking to rolling, so trying to stay out of that. But also, that being said, May is 62 days out. I like to do this 30 to 45 days. So some more of the liquid stocks tend to have okay liquidity on the weekly, so this is going to be another one that if you can get filled, okay, you can see it's got decent open interest here, so might not have a problem. And what I want to do is just lean it slightly short, almost just one delta. Okay, it gives great odds for an iron condor, 60 pop, 78 p, 50. All right, so what I want to do is go ahead and sell the 130, buy those 135 calls, and then sell the 110, buy those 105 puts. Try to get about $1.40 for it, so the credit's at least decent here, okay? And it'll lean a little bit short just past that expected move. All right. Now the next one that I'm looking at is going to be Airbnb. Now I like Airbnb long. As you can see, it's one of those fairly newer stocks, so we don't have a lot to work with here. But it did run up, it did pull back, it consolidated. Now it needs to hold this 21 moving average, in my opinion here. Okay. We do have a nice medium squeeze, and we're seeing that momentum to the upside still, but it's got to hold that 21 moving average. And I want to do that with a vertical put spread. So I'm looking at selling the 175 puts and buying those 170s, about 25 delta. I ideally would like $1.30, okay, but I'll go as low as 125 to get further out of the money in case we do see some pullbacks. All right, and that's going to give us about a 70 pop and an 80p 50. Okay. Next one is a debit spread. Now I'm watching cat here because I really like it. I play cat and I play deer on almost every single pullback. So what I'm looking for is to have cat, and that's caterpillar for those that don't know, pull back to this 21 moving average. I really would like it to pull back there. As you can see, it pulled back here, then ran. It actually pulled back here, and it actually came a little bit lower, but then ran back up. But it rides that 21, and when it pulls back, it takes off again. Then comes in, then takes off. So I'm just looking for a repetitive cycle here. There's a little bit of low squeeze, so I'm kind of actually hoping it falls some more. As you can see, this downward energy here, but it's starting to slow down and consolidate. So I may jump in a little early, but I want to see a 21 EMA pull back. And then with that being said, this one's a debit spread, right? IVR is 8%, applied volatility is 30, so it's high. Come on, O'Malley. Sit down. Sorry about that. Looking to do just a debit spread here. And I'm going to, most likely be the 220, 230s. But depending on how far it comes down, if it comes down, it's not going to be the 225. So I highly doubt it'll be a 230, 240. So right now, we're looking right around the 220, 230s. And hopefully it'll be about $5 at the time that it comes down. So it'll be pretty much a 1-to-1 play here. Okay, risk one to make one. It's going to be 50% probabilities, so I'm just shooting for it to go up. And then I'll look to manage this one for about 25 to 30%, depending on how strong it starts to push back off that 21 moving average. Okay. Excuse me. Now, next one here is Google Iron Condor. As you can see, Google's been pretty bullish, but we made those highs and we just really started struggling. And it's just been consolidating. Now we do have a high squeeze here, but it's starting to show some downward energy, and we got a lot of gap fill down to 1950, so almost 100 points. But as we're holding out here, there was a little bit of conviction that came up. So I just want to Iron Condor Google. Now Google is another one that's not that liquid, so you may be sitting in it for a while, but it does give good odds, okay, for an Iron Condor too. So as you can see, I want to go ahead and sell a 2220, buy those 2230 calls, and then I want to go ahead and sell the 1890 and buy the 1880 puts. Now the credit is a little low, I understand that, but it's me going a lot wider here to cover a much larger move. Now if you can get filled, 70 pop, 85 P50, 225 right on that low end. So I won't go any lower, hence just setting it and seeing if it fills. Liquidity is an issue here, but I overall like the play, okay? Now next one is Open. Now Open, I'm actually interested in doing a Strangle on this one. It is a smaller product, so you can get away doing a Strangle, and I want to do it in a shorter time frame. So I'm looking in April still on this one, just to try to get a quick profit. So as you can see, I'm currently looking at pretty much almost all-time high push and well down back by support as it's trending sideways here, okay? So I'm looking at selling those 19 puts and buying those 35 calls. This is in the April cycle, so I want to just snag some quick profit on this one. Okay, ideally, I would like to get $1. Okay, whether we get that or not, that's a different story. The buying power is actually fairly cheap. Now I have 2 contracts listed, so if I take this down one, you can see that it's only $272 to put on. All right, so I'm looking 2, maybe 3 contracts. This is going to give over an 80% pop and over a 90 P50 past the expected move, but check that out. Also gives some short delta, and in this market we've been falling every time we reach highs, so having almost 30 short deltas with great probabilities covering that expected move is fantastic. If you wanted to go a little bit more out, you could. I mean, you can go out and almost make it neutral here. 5 deltas short. Now you would have to do a couple of contracts here, but again, you'll still get some short deltas, but more wiggle room. This is past all-time high. All right, but I'm looking at this 35.19 Strangle. Ideally $1, but I will take all the way down to 80 cents. Excuse me. So it's just going to determine how much IV comes out between, when market opens. All right, the next one here, guys, is RIOT. Now this is going to be a new, I don't think I've put this one on a watch list before, but RIOT, kind of more of a Bitking. Wow, I can't talk today. Bitcoin related stock. So as Bitcoin's been rocking and rolling, making all these highs, RIOT and Mara have been following pretty well. So as you can see, RIOT's got a nice little low squeeze, picking up that energy here as well. hovering just above that 21 moving average, but it can push right on up to those highs. So I'm looking to do a ratio spread. Okay, and now what that is that's a no risk to a certain direction, depending on which way you are, with max profit actually in the opposite direction. Let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, easier with showing. So RIOT. Now on this one, I'm looking at a ratio call spread. So what that is that is actually a debit spread. Okay, you're gonna buy and then sell further out of the money. But then you go and you add another one. Now, whether that's a 2-1, kind of like this, selling 2, buying 1, a 3-1, a 2-4, you can have any sort of ratios. But what I'm looking at here is a 2-to-1 ratio call spread. It's going to be a credit because you're selling that extra call instead of it being a debit. Now, what this does is, as you can see, it is a no risk play to the downside. Okay, that's this green bar right here. And then it gives you a little bit of wiggle room all the way past 105. So if RIOT rocketed, there we go, you actually got some wiggle room. And this is going to give about $2.70 in credit up front with a max profit of $7.70. And that's because you have these 2 short strikes here. That's where your max profit's going to be. And the buying power is only 2,400. So that's actually not bad when you consider it is here. The 2, it's not 4-to-1 like I like at the most, but I like the odds. Over a 90% probability. And if I bring up this curve here, you can actually see what I mean. No downside risk. Here we are at 60. If rocket runs up, I'm talking almost $40 of wiggle room in the April cycle. So only 27 days out. Now, if it doesn't breach 95, where that long call is at, I'll make $270 if I held it to expiration, but I'm going to be looking for 50%. I'll be looking, we're going around $130, $135. Now, if it runs up and gets between 95 and 105, you have a higher profit potential with peaking at that 100 strike where that 770 is your max. Won't ever get there because that's pinning it right there, and you don't want to hold it like that. But as you can see, that's coverage to the upside wherever you think it might hit, while giving you sufficient credit to be happy if it does not reach there. Okay, so that's that one. And then lastly here, you guys, is another debit spread. This is going to be SBUX. Now, SBUX has been bullish pretty well as well here. Okay, running up, running up, running up. Now it's kind of slowing down with this squeeze that really took off when it made these highs, but it's pulled back to the 21. It actually is pulled back to the 34 EMA right now. So what I'm looking for to do is kind of hang out at that 34, build this squeeze back up, and push back up to those all-time highs. So I'm going to do a debit spread here, okay? Hoping that that squeeze takes off and pushes it up. It's got a low IV, so 4% IVR, and only 6% implied 30% implied volatility. And this one's in a weekly, so you got to get filled on this one too. Probably another set it and just let it fill. So right now I'm looking at buying those 105s, selling those 110 calls. And then that's going to be, a 1-to-1 would be like 250. So this is just lower than the 1-to-1, which is fine. A little bit higher max profit. Going to give you about that 50% probabilities. So hopefully it holds that 34, starts to take off. I'm going to jump in the 105, 110 for no more than 250. Ride that up, hopefully to all-time highs. I'll be looking to take it off at about 25 to 30% of its max profit. And that's it, gang. That's all I got for you. So I hope you enjoyed the watch list. If you're watching this on YouTube, guys, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. And maybe one day I'll see you live in chat. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend.